Hello, I'm Greg Raleigh, and welcome to this edition of It's Your Turn. As I told you before, we're going to continue bringing experts in here that are going to help you make better health decisions. We've got chefs here, we've got vegetarian experts in here, we've got dentists in here, we've got pediatricians, so we've got a wide variety of individuals that are really going to help you make better choices for you and your family. But before I go any further, I want to talk to you about something that I've noticed while I'm watching TV, watching the basketball games. There's two words that keep coming up on these commercials: acceptance and prevention. Now, what I'm looking at and what's fascinating to me is that the change in our approach is that it seems like these commercials are all talking about accepting diabetes, kidney treatment as a normal routine of your life. Okay, you have to understand that there's been an explosion of advertisements that talk about acceptance. They even tell you when diet and exercise isn't enough. Okay, so what we have to understand is that in acceptance, you see who makes the money off these advertisements. The ad agencies, there's been a mass explosion of commercials, and you see it every day, all day long. Think about the drug manufacturers. They're making billions of dollars on you accepting that you cannot do nothing to prevent your illness or condition. And let's not forget, they all got side effects. And they even tell you on the commercials about these side effects. So what we want to do on this show is to continue teaching you how to prevent developing those illnesses and those conditions through dieting, through exercise, and through education. And we guarantee you that if you apply these three areas to you, you will not be in the accepting mode. You will be in the preventing mode. And in doing prevention, you save a lot of money. Money that can be spent on a lot more better activities like exercising or cooking classes. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
You a dreamer?
And welcome back. You know, in the world of dentistry, I never thought about the type of foods and drinks that kids have that affect their teeth. But once again, as I'm in this industry and I'm reaching out to different professionals, I'm learning more and more that our diets affect our bodies in so many ways that I hadn't even imagined as a personal trainer. One is our teeth. So what I decided to do is reach out into the community, and I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Pierre Cartier. Dr. Cartier, how are you?
Good. How about you, Greg?
Good. He's a well-known dentist in the D.C., Virginia, Maryland area, and he's taken the time from a very hectic schedule to share with us what he's experienced in the industry over 16 years of being a dentist and working with kids and adults. So, Dr. Cartier, I'd like to start with, you and I had a lot of conversations at the club the other day, and we talked about different topics that are affecting that you notice.
Yes.
And so over your 16 years, tell me what you've experienced.
Probably one of the bigger issues that I see in dental medicine is dental caries or tooth decay.
Okay.
It affects both children and adults, particularly children. The American Academy of Pediatrics estimates that it's 5 times more common than asthma, 4 times more common than obesity, childhood obesity, and they estimate that it's 20 times more common than childhood diabetes.
Now you're a dentist. You worked in Kentucky. You were with the Air Force. So you've done work all over the country. Are you seeing any trends that are occurring everywhere you go with teeth issues?
Predominantly, tooth decay affects low-income individuals. We see that, but it's not just something we see in public health clinics or safety net clinics like the one I work in now. We also are starting to see it among all ranges of adults, mainly because of sugar-sweetened beverages, like even sports drinks. Some of the juices that you buy over the counter or on the supermarket aisles have a lot of sugar in them. Soft drinks, obviously. Because when I was in private practice, I saw young adults coming in their mid-20s and 30s that never had a cavity before, and suddenly they're sitting in my chair and have severe decay that requires doing root canals.
Okay, now you brought some things here for us to look at to help us understand what we're experiencing with teeth decay. So you have that model right there. Share with us real fast what we're looking at when you see tooth decay, when it's in the early stage, when it's advanced stage, when it's at a critical stage.
Sure. So this doesn't depict tooth decay so much other than on the side of the tooth here. There is one type of tooth decay I wanted to mention, Greg, and that's called root decay. And that's something you see predominantly in older individuals, and you also see in people that have dry mouth. One contributor for tooth decay is people that are on treatment for diabetes or depression or high blood pressure. The meds they take can dry out their mouth.
Okay.
And so if they have gum recession, they can wind up with tooth decay up near the gum line. And this is very destructive because it can go around the tooth and pretty much your tooth can snap off.
Wow.
The other thing that I was going to say with this is there's gum disease here.
Right.
And that's more what this model is indicative of. If you look here, there's various ranges of gum disease. You have gingivitis, which is just where the gums get red and irritated, what you hear in the TV advertisements for toothpaste and all. And with time, you can get a condition where the bone is lost around the teeth and your gums recede, kind of like this little dark area here.
Right.
And this patient also has what we call tartar built up around the teeth.
Okay.
And that just keeps the inflammation going, so it just keeps getting worse. And with time, you go from having garden variety gum inflammation or gingivitis that you hear about in the toothpaste advertisements and everything to where you have bone loss around your teeth. Okay. And once a bone's gone, you can't really get it back.
Wow. Wow. Now, you bought this one. What is this right here? Share that with us.
So this is a depiction from the American Academy of Periodontology.
Okay.
Periodontology is the dental specialty that deals with gums.
Right.
And this depicts a study that CDC did that suggests that over half of Americans have some form of bone loss around their teeth,
right.
What we call periodontitis in dental medicine. And of those, about 2/3 of them have gum disease that is a severe bone loss around their teeth that's appreciable.
Okay, now is this something that's occurring at early ages? Is this something that usually occurs in your 30s? Is this what we see people in their 60s? Are these gum diseases showing up in younger kids?
It just depends on the individual. Okay. There's genetic susceptibility, so your genes do play a role in that. We predominantly see it as people age. Gum disease is typically associated with aging. Okay. Gingivitis we see a lot in children, particularly teenagers. We also see it in pregnant women and also women going through menopause because those hormonal changes that you see in puberty, pregnancy, and menopause can cause the gums to change.
So was that something you guys were doing with providing in your outreach, providing toothbrushes, things like that to the community?
Mm-hmm. That's one thing I did have my staff do.
Okay.
And we were attempting to set up venues for that to happen in schools and whatnot as well. Okay,
so have you had strong support from the schools, things like that, with partnerships doing things like this?
We did have some of that going on as well. I mean, it's always an evolving program, and there's not much I can really say about now out of that position, but there was some support for it.
Okay,
there.
So you and I talked about this new phrase I created called instant options. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about things people can do at home in the last few minutes that they can do right now to help prevent their teeth from decaying.
The first one's nutrition, staying away from things that have a lot of sugar in it, drinking more water.
Okay.
The other thing is oral home care, so brushing your teeth at least 2 to 3 times a day with a fluoride-containing toothpaste. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what type of toothpaste you use as long as it has fluoride in it. Okay. Everybody has their different preferences. You should use a soft-bristled toothbrush to brush your teeth.
Okay.
The other thing that you should do alongside brushing is flossing.
Flossing?
Because that removes bacteria from in between your teeth that can cause tooth decay as well as gum disease.
Okay.
The last thing that I would add, which is something that I've seen over the course of my time as a dental professional, as well as from my previous position, is that we really encourage everybody to have a dental home. We as dental professionals want everybody to have a provider that they go to on a regular basis for preventive care.
Okay.
Kind of analogous to the medical home concept where you go to your primary care doctor. You need to have a dentist that you go to for regular checkups. Even if you have dentures, you need to still be checked out because the thing is we do an oral cancer screening during that.
Okay, well, Dr. Pierre Cartier, I really appreciate this. This has really been educational, and I appreciate you coming out to the show.
Thank you,
and
Greg.
what I want to do is have you come back in the future, okay, and expand on this, all right?
Sure.
Well, thank you very much. We'll be right back.
You a dreamer?
Welcome back. As you know, obesity in America, in my opinion, from the studies I've seen, is not getting better, it's getting worse. So it takes different industries to come together to try to figure out how we can educate and assist people in the community to make better choices about their foods. So as I said before, I will continually bring in professionals that could share with us their expertise on what they're doing to help people improve their health. So I asked Dr. Kofi Essel. Dr. Essel, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you for being on the show. Let me ask you something. When are mothers receptive to ideas when doctors and pediatricians such as yourself sit with them and say, look, at this stage of a child's life, you need to change the foods, things like that? Are they receptive to that, or are they following, or are they fighting it?
I think mothers are very receptive to that. In fact, that's one of the reasons I became a pediatrician, because families are more likely to adapt changes when it's focused on their children, knowing that this is going to affect the next generation of their family. The issue tends to be there's multi-generations in homes at times. So you have multiple influences that are playing roles in the lives and the upbringing of the children.
Yeah.
So as a result, everybody has to be on the same page. As a pediatrician or a provider, we don't always get a chance to communicate with everybody in the home. We get a chance to spend time with the mother or the father or the grandparent maybe, but we need to get everybody on the same page. So that message has to go across the board, but mothers definitely are responsive and receptive to it.
Are there opportunities where you guys go out and you meet families as a unit? Is that something that can be done, or is it trying to be done?
So in fact, we're trying to do that more and more. We actually have a program at Children's National. It's called Healthy Homes, Healthy Futures.
Okay.
It's a program where we take our medical trainees into the homes of our families. And what happens is we're able to talk to the whole family at one time. We're able to tailor-make a recommendation for the family by knowing what's going on inside the home, knowing what's going on around the neighborhood, and giving better interventions using motivational interviewing to encourage our families to move in the right direction.
Okay, so now, and you guys are doing a lot of outreach. You and I talked about that many times. Give me a couple of ideas of what you guys are doing in terms of your outreach in the community.
Yeah, so Children's National doing some great work. We serve a very diverse population throughout DC.
Okay.
Some of the work we're doing is expanding beyond health and fitness. But when we talk about health and fitness, there are a few ideas in particular that really connect us to different schools. One in particular is called KPOW. This is a program that stands for Kid Power. It's a program that empowers medical students to go into schools.
Good.
They work with students, spend about an hour to an hour and a half where they're modeling good behavior with them. They're teaching them about how the body works, getting to see that, hands-on opportunities to see that. They're teaching them through doing physical activity components with them. So they're spending time with them, being active with them, spending time and building a rapport with these students as well, and also spending time eating with them as well. So we know that with the transition in the foods throughout the schools all around the country, children didn't always adapt quickly to the foods.
Okay.
And that makes sense. It takes a while for our palate to get used to different foods, especially more healthier foods if we're not used to such foods that are less in salt, lesser in sugar, and lower in fat as well. So what happens is when working with these students, we have medical students who are talking with the students about the foods that they're eating.
Good.
Their students are leading and eating these foods themselves, and the students are able to see that and change their behavior slowly but surely as well. Another program we have is working with a group called, Joyful Markets in particular.
Okay.
So Joyful Markets is a collaboration with Martha's Table, the Capital Area Food Bank, and Children's National. We have a section that we call Meet the Pediatricians, where we come to food markets that are held every month at schools all around DC, and we teach students or children and families about healthy eating as well. So that's one other component. And the last one we do in the schools is with an organization called Common Threads. Common Threads is a wonderful organization we've been working with for years. We do family-centered cooking classes with them in the communities.
Okay.
In the schools, we are empowering students how to choose the foods that they're eating by cooking those foods. They're actually getting to do the hands-on experience of cooking those foods. And we see that play a huge role on them actually adapting to foods better when they get to control how they make foods, cutting foods, and making foods for themselves and for their families. So that's another organization we've been doing some great work with.
Well, I'm hoping to be a partnership with you and with some of these organizations. I want them to come on a TV show.
Great.
I want to see some of the success stories. Now, you and I talked about what we call our instant options.
Yeah.
So so give me a couple of instant options people can do right now in their home.
So I use a common mnemonic called 5-3-2-1 almost none. It's a group in North Carolina started this, and I love using it. 5-3-2-1 almost none stands for 5 fruits and vegetables a day. Having less processed foods, eating more fruits and vegetables is something we all would benefit from. 3 structured meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Teens love to skip breakfast. It's something that if you have breakfast, you're going to be less hungry for lunch, right, and get a more balanced diet throughout the day. 2 for 2 hours or less of TV time a day, right?
Okay.
We know that over 70% of children between the age of 8 and 18 have TVs in their bedroom. When you have a TV in your bedroom, you stay up later, you watch more TV, and the advertisements play a role on you eating more high sugar, high fat foods later at night, and you're just incorporating more calories into your diet that you probably don't need as well. One, for 1 hour or more of physical activity. So encouraging children to have an hour or more of physical activity, not exercise, but physical activity. Exercise is more rigid and focused on getting in the gym, these things. Where children, we want them to have fun. So how do you incorporate activity into their day-to-day life is really important. And lastly, almost none, for almost no sugary beverages. We encourage our children to have more water, milk, or milk substitutes as well as a better option for them versus having these sugary drinks. A big problem, our children get adapted to these sugary drinks very earlier on. Our families are drinking a lot of them. It's hard to wean yourself off of them, but our palates are very adaptable, are very malleable. And so I always encourage my families to recognize that and know that over a few weeks, they can get themselves removed from some of these sugary drinks as well.
Dessel, this has been very, very impressive. I would love for this show to help you with your outreach. Maybe we can come out to the community at some of your events, or some of your medical students talk to some of the kids. We can organize that kind of stuff. That's the partnership we're looking for. So I hope I can find some time to get you in your hectic schedule.
We would love it.
To come back out and do another segment with us, okay?
Our pleasure, definitely.
Well, Dr. It's a pleasure, sir, to meet you and to appreciate the work you're doing in the community.
Thank you.
Keep it up, and we'll be right back.
From a baby's first steps to walking your daughter down the aisle, so many of life's precious moments are spent on our feet. And every step you take contributes to a healthier heart. By walking briskly for just 30 minutes a day, you can lower your risk for heart disease and stroke. So join us and take the first step to a healthier, longer life. The American Heart Association and the American Stroke Association. Life is wild.
You a dreamer?
And welcome back. As I told you before, we're going to continue give you options, food options. And so what we've done today, we've reached out to our network, and I want to introduce you AJ Johnson, General Manager of Making Bistros. AJ, how are you? I'm glad you could make it. Appreciate
Glad I could be here.
Yes,
so indeed.
What me and AJ have talked about several times was foods that you can serve that are healthy, and you can add different ingredients to make them healthier. So let's start. I don't want to waste any more time because this is your time. Let's start with this dish here, AJ. What do we have here?
All right, so I wanted to create more of a low-calorie, lean protein pasta.
Okay.
If you're doing this at home, I would definitely suggest doing more of a whole wheat pasta, or you can even do like a long-grain brown rice to sort of switch it up. We chose to do a nice grilled chicken, just a little bit of oil, and then just grilled to finish. Salt, pepper, just a touch, no added finishing salt. Kale. Sweat it down with a little bit of onion and shallot, toss together with a little bit of olive oil.
Okay, now, technically, how long does it take to prepare a meal like this? 20 minutes?
The chicken is going to be the longest thing.
Okay.
It takes about 15 to 18 minutes to cook up.
All right, let's talk about the economics behind this, because I'm always talking to my audience that eating healthy, it doesn't cost more money. It's one of the biggest myths that drives me nuts in this industry when people say, I don't eat healthy because it costs too much money. So we're talking about kale here. That's what?
Oh, the entire dish together,
dish?
if you bought this in the supermarket, would be about $6.50. Plus, you'd have more. This is probably 2 portions, I would say. If you bought 2 or 3 chicken breasts, if you bought a box of pasta, if you bought sort of a bunch of kale, just one bunchlet, you would have, you would have enough to cook off for at least a week.
Something like this would actually help me with my blood pressure.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the kind of stuff we're looking for on our shows, is things that people can apply to them right now, simple things they can do. And me trying to regulate my blood pressure, I'm always concerned about salt that's already in food.
Yeah.
And you're telling me, don't stay away from that.
Yeah, stay away from that. Do not add any more than you need. When you're cooking down and sweating down your kale, obviously because it's fresh, you're just going to give it one little sprinkle, and that's it. And not use the Malden. Don't use the big one. Use the kosher salt. The finer salt.
All right, let's move on. What do we have here? This looks very delicious.
Yeah, so this is one of the starters at the restaurant, actually. It's the roasted beet salad. And all we do, and the reason why I love this salad, number one, goat cheese is my favorite thing in the world. But instead of using just a regular mesclun mix, which I think people generally do when they go to the supermarket, we use arugula. Arugula has a naturally spiced flavor to it, so you don't have to add salt and pepper to it. It's already got a really nice fresh bite to it. The goat cheese really to smooth it out for texture. Some fresh roasted beets. You can get them pre-cut. I would say just if you go and buy a beet, you roast it off, just put it in the oven, you peel it, and you dice it.
So this is beets, tomatoes?
Nope, those are tricolored beets.
Tricolored beets?
Yep, so there's yellow and red. There's different colored beets, just like there's different colored carrots.
I didn't know that. I thought carrots were orange.
No. Depending on the season, depending on the region, and also depending on sort of what consumers like to see, that sort of food trend of bringing more colorful pieces to the plate. It wasn't just about carrots being orange. It wasn't just about beets being orange. They have purple ones, they have yellow ones, and they taste the same.
Do they vary in nutrition value, or do they all carry the same nutrients?
As far as I know, they carry the same nutrients.
Okay, now, beets I see as a salad. Do you cook these things, or is it always just as a cold dish?
This is always as a cold dish. The beets are roasted in the oven first. You take a whole beet, you roast it in the oven, and you just peel the skin, and then you dice them. Okay. No butter and no cream and no dairy in there as well.
Okay, once again, let's talk about the prices. This whole meal would cost me how much?
$3 maybe?
$3?
Yeah, and again, the arugula doesn't die as fast. So you can prep off, as long as you use it, probably you have 2 to 3 days from buying it in the store, but you can actually choose, unlike kale where you have to buy a bunch, you can buy a bag of fresh arugula and keep that for 2 days and make yourself a salad 2 days in a row. Goat cheese is super cheap, it holds, it's delicious all by itself, and takes on a lot of that flavor, cuts down the spiciness. And then the beets, I would say the beets, when you're doing multiple salads for that week, you can multi-purpose them.
Okay. So this is, once again, something you can store, you can prepare salad, you can eat on 2 or 3 days. It doesn't cost you more than $3. And people ask me why food costs so much, eating healthy foods. You just blew that one out the water.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Now you say there's all type of dressings, because me, I have a high blood pressure, and me can't eat dairy. I'm limited on my options. So does this have
no dairy,
no
no butter, no cream, just a walnut oil. There is oil, obviously, and sherry vinegar, and then salt, pepper.
And that's it.
And that is it. And I would suggest, especially if you're eating out, but especially if you're eating at home too, don't toss your greens. Get the dressing on the side. Use a spoon. Okay. Don't dump your.
Like you see, I see people at the club when they're having lunch, and it's like pouring pancake syrup.
Yeah. Use your fork, dip it in your vinaigrette or your dressing, and then take your bite. Number one, it'll keep your greens fresh and it won't taste soggy by the end of your meal. Okay. Also, it does limit the intake that you're actually taking in.
AJ, this has been very educational.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'm going to come out to Bacon Bistros.
Making Bistro.
Making Bistro. I just play.
And you're not going to have the bacon.
And I'm not going to have the
Okay.
And I want to appreciate you coming to the show, and I hope you can come back at some other time.
Yeah.
Give us some more ideas, okay?
Yeah.
And we'll be right back. And welcome back. You know, you watch TV all the time, and you see all these advertisements for different weight loss products and businesses. We know who they are: Nutritionist, Weight Watchers, South Beach, and the list goes on and on. And for many people, they're still not making any accomplishments with those products. So I decided, why not go vegan or try vegetarian? So what I did, I reached out to my network of professionals, and I asked a very distinguished friend of mine if she could find some time to share with us and educate us on what these types of diet lifestyles are about. So Dr. Ruby Lathan, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Dr. Ruby is going to explain to us the difference between vegetarian, vegan, and what she recommends to people who may want to try something as another option.
So the main difference is when you're vegetarian, you're not eating any meat, but you still consume animal byproducts like cheese and milk and dairy products and eggs. Okay. When you go to a vegan diet, you're not consuming any animal products or byproducts. So no meat, no cheese and eggs and dairy products. They're for everybody. Okay. They have been shown to be extremely effective, especially a vegan diet, which is also interchangeable with plant-based diet. You might hear that term. It's pretty much the same, except focusing more on whole foods. But a vegan diet has been shown to be very successful in helping eliminate or reverse or prevent diabetes, help reverse heart disease and prevent it, help prevent and reverse cancers. And it's one of the few that has, in terms of heart disease, is pretty much the only diet that's been shown to actually help remove the plaque out of the arteries when you go on a completely plant-based diet.
Do they need to meet with someone like you and you do an assessment with them? You look at the foods they're eating. Is that part of how the process works?
That's part of what I do, absolutely. It doesn't have to be difficult. Some people do it on their own and then just start substituting meat for other foods like beans and things like that, or tofu or something that they can switch out easily. But some people need a little help, especially if they're dealing with some health issue. It's good to check in with somebody who's done it for a long time to make sure you're covering all the bases. But a lot of people just jump in and go cold turkey, and some people merge into it and start with things like meatless Mondays, or just not eating meat after 6 p.m. or dinner is plant-based, or things like that. So that's another way to do it, because you kind of get into getting used to eating meals that don't have meat, and so by the time you completely transition, it's not a shock to you.
Okay, so some of the people you've helped and assisted in making this transition, what's the ranges of weight loss?
Everybody loses weight. So I work with a lot of people who are not necessarily coming for weight loss. They're dealing like with diabetes, or they just want to transition. But pretty much I would say about 98% of the people who go on a completely plant-based diet lose weight just naturally. And that's because when you're swapping out high calorie, high fat, high saturated fat foods with plant foods, you reduce calories pretty dramatically, and you increase your fiber, which definitely helps you lose weight and keeps you full longer and makes you feel lighter. And so, you know, within like the first 2 weeks, you know, anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds, depending on how dramatic the change was, how healthy or unhealthy you were eating before. I mean, some people are eating pretty healthy. They're just eating, you know, baked chicken or something like that. So then they're still going to lose weight, but it's not going to be dramatic as the junk food person who was eating, you know, all the fast food restaurants and things like that.
Does somebody have to change their exercise routine? Is it, if it's a runner, is that runner going to be affected by this, where they can't run the same distance anymore?
No, they'll be able to run longer distances. Everyone pretty much, most of the people I work with report that they have more energy, they recover faster from their exercise routines, and this is documented in many studies. The recovery time, especially for people who work out, is cut a lot shorter because you're eating anti-inflammatory foods, whereas dairy products and meat products tend to be more inflammatory, and that slows down the repair process. So it only enhances workouts. So generally you're able to do more, definitely not less.
Okay, now you and I talked about my new concept of called instant options. So what are a couple of 2 or 3 instant options you could tell somebody right now that wants to try this lifestyle, adjust this lifestyle?
Okay, well the first thing you could do if you're just wanting to kind of ease into it, you can start with just making sure half your plate is green, with green vegetables, salads, and only a quarter of it the protein and a quarter of it the healthy starches like sweet potatoes, brown rice. That way you're getting a lot more vegetables in your diet, and you're getting used to eating that much. You could also start with a salad for lunch and dinner. That way you're eating less of the stuff that maybe you shouldn't be eating, because it kind of fills you up. And make sure you're using a plant-based dressing like a vinaigrette or something like that, or cashew cream sauce to keep it healthy. You could also just start with taking dairy out of the diet, because that's going to cut a lot of the saturated fat and sugar out of the diet pretty quickly as you decide to transition.
So which would you, when you talk to people real fast, I know we're running out of time, vegan versus vegetarian, do you ask the people based on their background which route they should go with?
I always suggest, a vegan diet is going to be the healthiest. If you're wanting to go slower and transition to vegetarian, that's fine too. But ultimately, we want to go completely plant-based because the science supports how healthy it is in reversing and preventing diseases and including obesity.
Wow, this has been educational, Dr. Ruby Lathan. I really appreciate the time.
All right.
And I'm hoping you can come back and expand on this. Next time, let's bring some food options next time.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to bring, I teach cooking classes, so I'd be happy to bring a couple of dishes and show you how good plant-based food can really be.
You're on the record now, so now we got to get you in here. Dr. Lathan, really appreciate the time. Thank you for coming out, okay?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
My mom is stronger than anyone I've ever known. Growing up when life got hard, her strength helped pull us through. Even after her heart failure diagnosis, she remains stronger than ever.
My family's support keeps me strong. Together, we're rising above heart failure.
Heart failure doesn't have to steal your strength. For simple steps you can take to help prevent, improve, or manage heart failure, go to riseabovehf.org.
You a dreamer?